Let's see. Are we going to make this one work? Is it back on? Perhaps yes, perhaps no. Of course. It has to be a new stream. Screwing up every chance that I get right now. God damn, man. All right. All right. Let's see. Hopefully this one doesn't completely mess it up again. We'll give it a couple of moments. Again, really sorry for the issues here, guys. It must be the multi-streamer, I'm guessing, because that's the only thing that could potentially cause these issues. Other than that, man, hopefully you didn't actually have to go to a new video, because now we have 3 live streams for the day. 3 live streams for the day, tripling up the content. But yeah, not looking too hot right there. So here's what I will do. I will make the prior one private so that it doesn't completely screw everything up. Hopefully, okay. Hopefully we're back and good to go. Yeah, probably have to join the stream on a new link. So yeah, just really annoying, guys. I totally understand that this is really not ideal. Believe me, if I could fix it, I certainly would. But it looks like today YouTube or Streamlabs or someone, I actually don't know really who to blame, has a different idea. I'd like to speak to the manager as well about a refund. I want my own refund. What the hell happened with all this shit? It's unfortunate, man. Anyways, we'll get back on to these super chats here. Elsa's actually saved them from the prior stream. So we'll get right into it. What's up, Mr. Boris? I see you from Bulgaria, man. Still in Brazil. Everyone loves Brazil. Brazil, the best place, possibly, or at least that's what a lot of people say. Punani Muffin says BKKT daily, weekly. Sure, man. We can look at BKKT. This is backed, right? Yeah, this is backed. I remember this from back in 2018. Has it done anything? No, it's done what everything does from 2018, even if it's in traditional markets. Yeah, man. Look. This thing has never put in a weekly uptrend ever, and yes, it is having a pretty decent rally right here. Your last lower high, however, was 26 bucks. You know, it's like, is it going to top out again right here, or is it likely to go back above that last prior weekly high? Well, it's never really done that, so I probably don't really have any reason to believe that it's going to do that here. You know, is it going to top out exactly where it's at? Probably yes, man. Probably yes. I mean, even looking at the daily, you're just hitting into the 377 EMA. I don't see any reason why it's going to exceed that on this current move. I'd be looking at this area as a topping region. If by some grace of God you see it actually get back above that July high, maybe you get a rally up to this major moving average here at about 40 or 45 bucks. I think that that's complete hopium, though. I think that that's very unlikely. It's significantly more likely to put in a lower high right here and head back down, I would imagine. Probably even filling this gap at some point too, which is a little bit down at 1133. So yeah, man, not great. If you're looking for a good entry, I don't think that there's such good entries as something that only goes down, man. I do not understand why you'd want to buy something that literally has a history of going down. If you want to trade it, sure, yeah, you know, go for that, I suppose. But just understand that the longer that you hold this thing, the more and more likely it is going to go to the downside. So it's like, yeah, you might buy here for a bounce and you get a nice bounce, but do I think it's going to reverse to new all-time highs or even into something called an uptrend? Hell no, man, because it's never done that. It's never done that. And it's been around for what, 8 years, 7-8 years, something like that. I remember it came out in like 2018. UAMI, I think we looked at that one earlier, so we're good there. Tobo's looking at silver. We'll do it daily, weekly, monthly. This is XAGUSD. Man, that is so annoying when the stream just screws up like that. It's like, what the fuck do you do? Like, who can I call and yell at? That's the only way to make me feel better at this point. But yeah, looking at the monthly here, I still think that this one's just overall bullish. Does it head back up to this prior high of like 47 or 48 bucks and then pull back on a monthly? I guess probably, yeah. You know, this would be kind of the area right here to be looking at for a potential high, or sorry, not a high, but like a pullback region, which likely resolves in higher price action. You know, because these are the last sort of major swing highs that you saw from the all-time high back, you know, more than 10 years ago, close to 15 years ago. So somewhere around here, I'd be expecting a pullback, but I'd just be looking for a higher low there, man. This is overall bullish. You know, your last higher low on the daily was all the way down at $41. So even if this thing pulled back in the short term to 42.5, that's fine. Overall, it's still bullish. Overall, it's coming into the end of this quarter, likely going to close on new all-time highs with only 6.5 days left to go. So this is looking pretty fucking good to me, man. Any sort of pullbacks here, I do think just get picked up and this thing will march higher, probably testing the prior all-time high sometime in Q4, maybe making new all-time highs, but really good right here, like really fucking good. Anyways, we'll go with Chris Fella next. He's looking at Doggy. Says Doggy went below 25.5 on the daily. Thoughts on that? We kind of briefly got into it before the last stream fucked up. But yes, it dropped below 25.5 cents. So, overall, I would honestly be switching to bearish on this one, even though it hasn't broken the rule yet on the monthly time frame. In the short term, I do think it's actually going to try for a bounce here. Maybe it gets it back up to 26 or 26.5 cents. But I do think that coming below that 25.5 cent region was significant, and whatever rally you get here is probably going to be another lower high, and then it heads down lower, maybe in October, something like that. That's my personal opinion. Again, if I'm going by the book, I technically can't get too bearish on it until we're back below the monthly, but one thing before the next, and obviously the daily is going to precede the monthly in this case. So I would say getting below 25.5 cents is significant, and it did flip the trend officially. Now I look for general trend continuation, but again, probably not happening this month, man. Like we're probably going to try, or Doggy's probably going to try for a little bit of a bounce short term and then come down if it's going to come down, rather than just a straight shot to the downside. I mean, it's already kind of had like a straight shot to the downside. Give it a chance to bounce, basically, then, continuation, more or less. Freddie M says, IREN daily, how high will it go before pullback? Always love these questions because it's literally impossible to answer. No one fucking knows, man. When you're in a blue sky all-time high breakout, there is absolutely no way, to just guess a price that it's going to pull back from or anything like that. Look, it's bullish as fuck until it's not. It's bullish as fuck until it's not. And that's what you can say about just about any blue sky breakout. And right here, we have a daily time frame where, it's just continue. It's made new all-time highs today, man. You don't want to fade these things until they give you some objective signal of topping. So that could be maybe multiple drives of bearish divergence. Do we have that? It's building it, yes, but it's not there just yet. This is still continuation. Maybe it could be looking at extremes on volatility. Yeah, we're seeing extremes right here, and but I mean, it might go a little bit more extreme, honestly. If we go to a weekly, yeah, it's heading up. I think it still gets a little more extreme. I don't think that the run's done just yet. So I'm not seeing any signs of topping just yet. That's the only way to kind of guess those sort of things. There is absolutely no way to guess, how high is it going to get before it pulls back. There's no fucking way to know that, man. There's absolutely no way to know that. And if someone gives you an answer for that, they're just pulling it out of their asshole, man. The best way to handle blue sky breakouts is to look for objective signals of pullback, not guessing the price it's going to get to first and then pull back, because that's an impossible game to do. There's too many variables. And of course, when you're in a blue sky breakout like this, weird things happen, like very weird things happen. Certainly TA in its general form does not apply in those cases. You just fucking get on the same side of the trend and let it play out and wait for at least like a topping formation at minimum, So I want to see like a shooting star or a bearish engulfing or something like that alongside bearish divergence, alongside extremes on volatility. If I see something like that, okay, yeah, we're probably looking at a major high. Anyways, Straight Path says, hello, sir. Can you look at CLSK? Okay, a lot of stocks today. You can tell that this community is definitely maturing as well. Looking at CLSK, it's kind of at the same area that's been putting in the highs for the last year and a half, since March of 2024. Is it ready to actually break out right here? That's a real question. On the weekly, I think it actually might, honestly, man. I actually do think that it might, to be fair. Just looking at the monthly here, if this thing does finish the month above 1366 or whatever the high was from July of this year, yeah, I think that this thing will break out and it will come back around about $18, somewhere between 18 to 20 bucks or somewhere around there. Again, if the monthly finishes above that July high, that'd be my sort of breakout condition. Daily time frame, short term, just a pullback a little bit, probably, yeah. But again, pullback, not the same thing as reversal. Weekly time frame, if it does fail here and it does come back down below 1360-ish region by end of month, then that would be my signal that, hey, no, this thing's putting in a high right here and it's going to come down from this exact high. But until then, as long as you're above that number, I look at this as potential monthly breakout, actually. So not bad at all. Gingerbreadman says, can you take a look at ASTS stock on the daily? Sure, man. Lots of stocks. It's good. It's very, very good. ASTS, Space Mobile on the daily. Higher term time frames look pretty good, and daily looks pretty good as well. An overall uptrend, very, very nice. pulling back after filling the gap from July. So again, very common stuff. Does it pull all the way back down to like 50 and a quarter? I think it's possible. I think it will generally pull back a little bit more from here. But again, it's a higher low. It's very likely going to be a higher low, especially anything above fucking $46.50. It's going to look like decent, honestly. So yeah, I do think in the short term it pulls back, but I'm not bearish on this. I think that overall this thing will make new highs, maybe in October, probably at some point in Q4. Weekly time frame has hidden bullish divergence right here. It's a phantom drive, yeah, but ultimately I would be betting on general upside after a bit of a short-term pullback. So I'll just be looking for higher lows, man. Cloud the Busy says order USD. Okay, now so we got some crypto shitcoins yet again. Nice. Order tokens, whatever the hell that is. Orderly. That's not very orderly. The fuck, man. Yeah, not great right there. Again, you do have that classic sort of thing where you retest a prior high and then you sell off from there. Now, could I have told you this? It was going to be this aggressive of a sell-off? No, usually you don't get that aggressive of a sell-off, but in this case, you know, it isn't a liquid shitcoin, so those rules. You got to bend them a little bit for shit like this. Anyways, I'm looking for something that's obvious, man. You're on a daily and a weekly. Weekly is not going to make much sense to me on this daily time frame. To be fair, you actually do still have an uptrend as long as you're above, especially like 15.5 cents. You are having a pretty epic bounce here as well, so I would give it a chance, but I don't think it's just going to like zoom to new highs from this exact number that you've seen on the low for today. I think that you have hit a major high right here. You've seen extremes on daily BBWP. You're very likely going to see this work off of these extreme conditions and come back down into normality, and that's just naturally going to take some time. So I think you're done going to the upside for now. I think at best you're going to be going kind of sideways and playing out, you know, volatile bounces and dumps, something like this. But as long as it's above about 15.5 to 16 cents, it's actually okay. I mean, it's still got a higher low, I suppose. So I wouldn't hate it too much. But below about 15.5 cents, I'd say, yeah, this thing's going to do what most shitcoins do, which is just, you know, go down for eternity. But for right now, man, I'd give it a chance. I think you're just done going to the upside for now. I think that this thing is not going above this week's or last week's high anytime soon. You're going to see a lot of sideways, a lot of cooling off, a lot of boringness, I suspect. Aaron Shazanarini, Aaron Shaw, sorry, man. Lord Aaron, IMX 4 hour weekly, hates from my rounds. Hates from Iran, nice. I'm glad that you still have internet or access to internet. Just make sure you don't say the wrong things. At least that's what I hear. I've actually met like a lot of Iranians. There's a lot of Iranians where I grew up, and I even had some Iranian friends when I was a kid. And then I also met Iranian people recently because it was Elsa's like friends, husband's family, something like that. Anyways, really nice people, I will say. Really, really nice people. Anyways, yeah, IMX absolutely fucking dog shit long term. Absolutely fucking dog shit long term. Does anything more need to be said? Look, we have an asset that only goes down, man. It only puts in lower highs. Never know what an uptrend is. You're at kind of an aggressive area that would be a great place for another lower high at 86 cents or so. I do think it is a little bit possible that it might try above there, but on daily time frame, you got some hidden bullish divergence. I do think that you'll at least retest around 85 cents or something like this. It's not really calling like a reversal though, or at least a continuation of this move. Yeah, I'm kind of struggling on this one, to be honest, man, because while I do think short term it pops up a little bit, I think that any upside move you have to be very, very skeptical of just because of the long term history. I mean, if by some act of God it got up to like 1.25, I think that would be a very obvious high. If it even got there, I kind of have significant downside it ever will get there, to be honest. But yeah, in the short term, you know, do I think it bounced more? Yes. Do I think it's probably going to top out here? Probably yes. If it doesn't and it gets that next shot up to 120 or 1.25, I'd say that's a gift from God, man, because I'd love to sell that if I own this thing. Yeah, overall, you got your classic 2021 shitcoin chart. I have to say the classic analysis will apply here as well. Bjorko Hirstov says, hey from Bulgaria, FSLR daily and weekly. FSLR, is this a crypto or is it a stonk? I'm guessing it is a stonk. And overall okay. You are on a daily and weekly, so I'm a little bit too high term time frame for you right now. I think that this one at least tries a little bit higher before it gets its next pullback. It's been a pretty constructive low coming out of this whole move right here for the past couple months. So that's pretty good. I do think that it'll at least try maybe like 250 or so, somewhere around there. Should get a pullback around there. Though just with that, again, being a last swing high from many, many moons ago. But yeah, somewhere around here, I'd be looking for around 250, give or take a little bit from that number. So this one actually looking pretty good in the short term. Long term, kind of a similar chart to Solana. And if we zoom out to the monthly here, kind of strange right there. I don't really have any calls or opinions on this one in the long term. If anything, I guess I'd be biased towards upside. If I'm looking at a quarterly, I know you didn't ask for it, but I'm just looking for something that's obvious. I'm not really getting it. Hidden bullish evidence on the quarterly right there. You know, if I can finish this month anywhere above like 210, especially. So, yeah, not bad, man. But, you know, short term, I think it rallies a little bit more, pulls back around that number, then, you know, maybe sets it up for a late Q4 run / early 2026 run, something like that, man. Anyways, we'll go to Dominic Costanzo. He says, great stream, Mr. Crown. I'm not sure about that, man. This one's been pretty fucking bad. We've had 3 restarts. We've had 3 false starts. But I think I figured out what the issue is. I think the issue comes from trying to multi-stream between Twitter and YouTube. I think just from going on from here on out, have to be only YouTube, I guess, which... well, I guess that's where the majority of people are. But I really do enjoy being live on Twitter as well. Anyways, we'll look at your ONDOUSD shitcoin for you, man. Can't promise that I got anything. Can't promise that I got anything nice to say about it, though. But then again, it's been a while since we looked at this, so who knows? Maybe there's something new going on here, and at least it's not total. Well, yeah, at least it's not total shit, because it's not like just making new lows all the time. It's just not necessarily been doing anything of interest since this year began. Not a fan of this one, man. The strong shit has already rallied up to its prior highs, or especially making new highs for the cycle. This thing is not. It's making lower highs later in the cycle, which is not a good sign. The way that I see it is you got a massive range going on right here. Your highs at the price action pivot, more or less at 119-ish region, 115 to 119. Your lows, more or less the same lows that you've been getting for the past 6 months since April. At 66.5 cents, you just reject from the top side of the range yet again. I'm going to be a lot more biased towards this thing coming down towards the bottom side of the range, which is closer to 66.5 cents. Now, that can take a long time. This is a weekly time frame after all. So while I do think you're going to have bounces along the way, probably even a bounce attempt right here. You know, most things are shaping up for short-term bounces right now. You know, this thing could easily bounce up to like $1, you know, could easily bounce up to $1, but you got lower highs as long as you're below 109. So while I do think, you know, short-term bounce, I would be a lot more biased towards this thing coming lower. I don't know, maybe it takes like a month or two, but, you know, somewhere back down around here if we fast forward like a month or two. But yeah, anyways, let's see. Schmid realized Krong stopped whispering in his ear. Yeah, man, I don't know what the hell's going on with YouTube, man. I really don't understand. But, you know, we've had multiple streams now just completely fucking the whole thing up. Anyways, yes, Crown Streams is redacted. It is a little bit redacted today. It's true. Anyways, Lil Ballers looking at RUBUSD. This is a new one for me. I don't think I've ever seen this one in my life. Or no, it's the Russian ruble. So I have seen this. I thought that it was a crypto shitcoin, being that it's plotted versus the US dollar. But no, it is a Forex shitcoin, and it is going down and down only. And more down for more longer, for more down and more down only. Yeah, man, I think that this is going to be your next monthly lower high, to be honest. I'd be surprised to even see it above, what is it, 0.0134 anytime in the foreseeable future. I think that this is literally another lower high being constructed right here, and it's a lot more likely to come back down below 1 cent than it is to you know, go back above that high. I mean, this is just a down only chart, man. So I'm betting on downside in this case, and even the weekly looks like it wants to break down relatively soon. Yeah, pretty fucking ugly, man. Pretty fucking ugly, sir. Gallo says, good morning. What's up, man? Ethereum is about to print bearish divergence on the weekly. Is it? Let's see. All right. I haven't even really looked at Ethereum for a while. Yes, that is correct. You are, yeah, I agree with you. Anyways, you're saying on the weekly, last time we saw that shit went down at 30 to 40%, 3,000 to 3,400 possible, 2,300 on the HPDR. I'm I crazy? I think you mean am I crazy? It's very possible that all of these things are true, sir. You might be crazy. It might also be going down there. Yeah, I would be biased towards downside here. We have been having a downside bias on this one for range plays down to 4,100. It did get down to 4,100 as well, even a little bit below there. Now bouncing. And I do think that it's going to bounce a little bit more on a daily here. It's very possible. I mean, maybe it even gets back up to like 43. It's not out of the, would it be anything like super crazy? But you're asking, can it get down to 3,000 or 3,400? That would not be my next target. My next target would be about 3,700, the last month's open. So August open, which is also the red 5 EMA on the monthly right here. That'd be my next major area of interest. You should get a pretty decent bounce there if it does even get down around there. But let's take things one step at a time here. Weekly. Okay, weekly actually is around 3,700. So yeah, somewhere between 3,700 to 3,600 if it does pull back more, I suppose. Do we see anything else that's obvious here? No. Yes. Well, kind of. There is technically bearish divergence over here, but I don't know how much I trust that one. Okay, this would actually be a little bit more concerning if this were to play out. The monthly would potentially have bearish divergence if it were to put in a high here. Again, we're coming into the end of September now, so if things do end like this, you do have the potential for a local swing high, especially if this thing trades below September lows of 40, 43, basically this week's lows. Not great history right there coming into the end of this month. You really want things to end stronger rather than weaker, but most things looking weaker into the end of the month. So I would, okay, so if I was looking at this, I would actually still give it a chance right here, because this is like kind of the last area to be really giving a chance on. You know, it should bounce a little bit. Does it actually reverse here? I think it is unlikely. I think it's very unlikely. I do think you're on the right side of things. It's going lower. I think that your targets are, in my opinion, a little bit too aggressive. I think 3,600 to 3,700 would be the next logical area that I really want to see tested. And I do think that you might see a higher low reversal there into a continuation of the overall uptrend. So yeah, man, looking at the quarterly here though, what I will say about the quarterly is that I could look at this as very fucking ugly, very fucking nasty, very fucking quickly if this thing does close above the price action pivot here, which is 4,100, which is it's a little bit above right now. So it is above it right now. But by the end of the month, if it does close quarterly below there, I would look at this thing as actually likely to at least get down to 3,600. Yeah, at least 3,600. Maybe there's still even a potential for a real reversal there. But I'd at least want to see the response at 3,600, because that is a legitimate place to be looking for on a higher low, which can lead this one to higher for the long term. So yeah. Anyways, one moment. And DVW says, sir, please look at some Forex. Sure, man. Dollar versus the ZAR. Is that the South African Rand? It is. I know my Forex is kind of. Anyways, dollar versus Rand. Dollar, I think, is putting in a major high here, man. You got quarterly multi-drives of bearish divergence. I mean, that just does not happen too often. And all of the ones that we've seen in the past 10 years have led to some pretty significant corrections. This one's already on your 21 EMA. So if it does drop any low, if it breaks really 1710, you know, on a quarterly, I'd have to be looking for it to go all the way down to like $15, $14.50 to $15, somewhere around here. I mean, this is 1, 2, 3, 4 drives of bearish divergence. That's a lot. You know, you don't see that very often, especially on a quarterly time frame like this. Now, again, you know, does that mean it's going to go straight down from here? You know, probably not. But it sounds like you are very high term time frame, looking at the weekly and the monthly. You know, weekly might try a bounce first, might try a bounce towards 1760 or maybe even 1775. I don't know, but ultimately I would be biased towards downside. Yeah, I would be on the same side as you. I agree that you're looking in the in the right direction. Or sorry, no, you didn't even give like a directional bias on that, but I would be looking towards downside on this one. I'd be biased towards downside, generally. Now, long term, this is an up only chart, so downside price action should be a macro higher low, but you know, it could come all the way down, like I said, to $15.50. That would still be a higher low. So yeah. Anyways, Chris Vela is looking at PAL, P-A-A-L. All right. Terrible. Absolutely fucking terrible, man. Here's your quarterly and only down. This thing is literally only going down. I'd be surprised if it even gets back above this quarter's high ever again in its lifetime. That's 15 cents. That's like literally a 3x from where it's at right now almost. Now in the short term, does it bounce? Yeah, probably. I mean, okay. This one's very fucking weak. So just because most things in this market do look like they want to bounce, this thing might bounce, but it's very likely to be extremely weak. I think best case scenario on a bounce might get back up to like 6 3/4 cents, something like that. I'm not even saying it's going to do that, by the way. I would I do not like looking for bounces on shit like this. This thing is going down and down only, man. This is fucking ugly. It's absolutely terrible. It's atrocious. It's the worst chart we've seen today. A lot more likely to come back down to your 2023 lows than it is to ever get back above even July's high ever again. Just my opinion, I guess. But yeah. Anyways, Freddie M says HIVE on the weekly, when breakout? Possibly never, but let's see. Is this a HIVE? Is this a crypto or okay? There is cryptos for this. I'm guessing it's probably crypto. When breakout? Do you mean breakout to the downside? If so, it looks to me like it's on the way. It looks to me like it's on the way, man. Again, just more garbage. This thing is more or less the same chart as what we just looked at on PAAL. I don't think you're ever going to go back above your January 2025 high ever again of 70 cents or 69 cents almost. This is garbage, man. This is absolute fucking garbage. A lot more likely to come back down to this low from August of last year. Probably tries for a bounce around a monthly, but you know, long term, I think the trend is your friend, and the trend is down only. So I'd have to say, when breakout, breakdowns coming, they are coming, and they are coming soon, and they are coming in many forms as well. We have many big breakdowns, oh, you're looking at the stock. All right, let's go to the stock. Okay, thank you for specifying that, because that was a fucking painful chart to look at, man. Fucking awful. When breakout, tough place for this one, because you're at the exact same area or relevant region that has caused all of the highs in the last 4 years since 2022. You know, this green 55 EMA on the monthly is where all of these lower highs have been put in on. So you're asking if it's going to break out. I don't like going against something that has that sort of history. Of course, at some point, you know, things I mean, if it's legitimate, it probably will break out and reverse at some point, but you have a really, really easy way to define that in this case. Last week was your rejection on the 200 simple here. If you can rally back above the high of that rejection, which is 433, and close a weekly above there, then I would say, yeah, your breakout is real, and this thing is going to fly back up at least to $8 or something like that, and maybe even double digits. But I'm not going to be calling a reversal on something that looks like this when it's down only. I'm not saying that it can't reverse. Of course, things like this, assuming it is, you know, real and legitimate, they actually do have a chance to, you know, to really reverse. But I wouldn't personally be front running that until proven. So yeah, the hate on Hive crypto is worth it. Is that even, do people even look at that thing anymore? I've never seen someone look at that one or call it out at least. Comment for the algos. Appreciate it, Freesetter. Appreciate it, man. Is the top for QURE stock, is this the top for QURE stock on NASDAQ? QURE, sounds like the word that you're not supposed to say. QURE on NAS is the top in for this one. Let's go down to daily. I don't know if I'd say that just yet. It's way too early to say that as of right now. I actually think it's probably likely it'll test this high over here, and that's where I'd be looking for on a pullback. That's like 49 and a half. I think it's more likely to get somewhere around there and then pull back. You know, this is the first day of a major breakout. I'm guessing this is news related or earnings related or something like this. And I think that would be much too early to call a top right here. I mean, it's literally the first day of this price action is what I'm trying to say. I think it's more likely to go higher. And if it is going to pull back from somewhere, this high over here would make most sense to me. So yeah, whenever I watch Crown, I want to sell all my bags. I mean, hopefully that's not always the case, man. Like, you know, we did spend the last 3 years being pretty much blindly bullish on fucking everything. It's just when it comes to shitcoins, like I'm generally going to be not very nice to them, especially during times like this, because there's really only a very small, first off, there's a very small amount of shitcoins that are even worth, you know, talking about, because that even have like somewhat of longevity. And then on top of that, for the most part, there's a very small window that these things even have a chance to rally to begin with. You know, that's just the way that this market has worked ever since I started looking at it. Sending hate from LA. We'll rewatch the live in a bit. All good, man. These lives have been the massive fucking monstrosity of Frankenstein bullshit, having to end and start them several times already now. So yeah, man, really fucking annoying. Probably not the best stream to watch back from, to be honest. KB2234 says GM EIGEN weekly monthly, please. 3 to 6 months prospect. All right, I can try my best. Oh, we got a crypto coin. EGEN layer. What is it going to do in 3 to 6 months? It's been around for less than a year. I have no fucking clue. Doesn't even have the history for that, man. in kind of an interesting place to me here. Yeah, you actually do have a daily uptrend. So, well, then again, you don't give a fuck about that. You're talking about 3 to 6 months out. I don't fucking know, man. I think highest it'll get in 3 to 6 months, if it even goes. Okay, this is like if it goes the upside, which is probably not happening anyways. But if it does, because this thing's already had its parabolic blow off top from last year. So betting on real upside is probably not the right play. Probably not the right play. But if you did, by some act of God, have a really bullish next 3 to 6 months, I think highest you get is somewhere around $2.50 to $3, $2.50 to $3.25, something like that. That's if. To the downside, there is no limit for the downside for shit like this, man. It just goes down until until it doesn't, I guess. Yeah, man. I really don't know on something like this. If you're looking 3 to 6 months out, I don't have a good opinion for you, man. I really don't. There's a lack of history here, and for the history that we do have, you got the parabolic blow off top. It's really hard to bet on upside on shit like this, and whatever upside you do get is probably gonna be massively limited. That's just the more probable thing, man. Can shitcoins be a hedge short to long-term investments during hard times? Can shitcoins be a hedge short to long? I don't know. I would think intuitively probably not. Like, at least you'd be better off hedging in a different way. Yeah, I don't know. We'd have to look at like an actual example. I think in general, like, why would you want to hedge yourself like that to begin with? Because the expected value of an altcoin long term is going to be closer and closer to zero. It only goes down. So like, why would you want to hedge yourself in that way to begin with? Like, that's just you're just adding on to your losses when your long-term investments have a drawdown, and you're reducing your gains on any sort of upside move in the long term for your long-term. Like, again, that's the problem. Like, if you're going to hold the shit coins, it doesn't even make sense as a hedge, because the longer that you hold it, it just goes down. It just goes down and down and down and down and down. Like, that's not going to be helpful to what you're trying to do, which is to reduce the downside that you are possibly going to experience in your long-term investments. Now, if you're holding shitcoins short, I guess that would make more sense as a hedge. Then again, because the shitcoins are super illiquid, you could get one of those one-off pumps, which they all get. They all get these one-off pumps that get no follow-through, but you have to live through that. And if you're short, you're using leverage naturally. So, are you going to survive that? Is that going to eat into your margin? Is that going to get you into trouble? It's possible, man. So that's what I'd say to be aware of there. Aaron Shaw says, has NEAR broken the head and shoulder on the weekly? I don't know. Let's see. Another 2021 shitcoin. I'm sure it's doing absolutely amazingly. Has it broken the head and shoulders on the weekly? Shit like this does not have a head and shoulders, my man. You should be very skeptical of any sort of potential bullish pattern that you get on shit that looks like this, man. Really. Now, has it broken it? No, it has not. Even if you look at this with rose-colored glasses as a head and shoulders formation, or just an ascending triangle with a couple of higher lows here, your breakout point would be the high from May, which is 340-ish region. So above 340, that would be where you'd say, hey, this thing actually has resolved itself. Now, patterns can fail, and certainly do fail. And when you got shit like this, they have a much higher probability of failing, because, you just can't trust anything bullish on shit like this. But if it were to trade back above that high, I would say at least you get a move towards 380, maybe even get a move all the way up towards $4.50. But that is still well and far away from doing anything significant to the upside. I just do not understand why you'd want to try to play a low probability pattern on a highly, highly shit piece of technology like NEAR protocol, which only ever goes down and fails all of its rallies to begin with. It's like you're playing the upside on something that is notorious for underperforming on the upside. Like, that is not, like, why? Why do you want to do that? Why the fuck do you want to do that? Go find something that actually is bullish. You can find shitcoins that don't have this nasty history from the past, and they will have a much better chance at doing something like this. But this one is always going to have this stain of the past going on here. Like, the probabilities are so far fucking against you. You don't have to play this game. This is like going to sit down at a fucking poker table and you get the worst fucking hands every time, and you continue to play it, and you're just like, well, I just feel like I should play this one because I've sat down here and, I was handed these cards. Like, no, you can wait until you have a bigger hand. You can wait or just look for something that actually has a history of maybe going up for once in the fucking cycle. This thing only has a history of putting in lower highs the whole way fucking through, man. Every rally fails. Rally fails. Do you think that this rally is going to be any fucking different? Hell no, it's not going to be different. Even if the amazing head and shoulders plays out, which by the way, it probably won't, or certainly not to whatever effect that you'd want it to. I think this, even if it were to trade back above what would be your neckline right here, which isn't even a neckline, it doesn't even work as a head and shoulders to begin with. Like, this is wrong. It's actually literally fucking wrong. Then, I mean, you'd get like a quick splurt up maybe, and then it'd fail, you know, much below whatever intended target would be on there anyways. That's just what shit like this does, man. That's why it's absolute fucking garbage. I'm not saying don't play shit coins, but for fuck's sake, if you're going to be intently watching over some highly esteemed piece of technology that's going to further the, you know, the suffering of the world, you know, by making everyone more poor who holds it, just find a different one. Just find a different one that doesn't have down only fucking price action, at least at minimum for one fucking cycle. Holy shit. What a crazy idea. What a crazy fucking idea. It's like you have a chance. You can buy general uptrending asset over here or general downtrending asset over here. Which one should I buy? Well, this one has a head and shoulders, so you know I should go after. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Why? Like, why? Seriously, why? Why? Do you believe in the technology? I mean, hey, man, fair enough. If you believe in the technology, more power to you. That's a different game. If you really believe, then again, man, I don't know. Read the fucking warning label on laundry detergent, because you're not supposed to drink it as well, man. I just don't fucking understand the obsession with this shit. I really don't understand the obsession with this shit. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck? And again, I'm not trying to make an example out of you. I'm making an example out of this chart because this is basically the same shit that like people ask all the time. It's just fucking garbage. You don't have to play in the heap of garbage. You can go find a nice heap of you can go find a fucking bathtub filled with cash in it and play in that, man. You don't need to play in the fucking literal dumpster fire. Why? Like, why do you want to do that to yourself? Even if it does work out, you're going to have a much easier time elsewhere going with something that actually fucking goes to the upside. Like, for the love of God, why? I just want to understand. I really want to understand why. I genuinely want to understand why. Why do people gravitate towards shit like this? Why? Why? Like, why? Why? I don't get it. I don't fucking get it. You can play a game where you have a 99% probability for you to lose, or you can play a game where you have like a 50% probability to lose. Which game do you want to play? I'm choosing the higher probability to lose one. It's like, why? Why? I just don't get it. Anyways, let's talk about some more cryptos. Short shitcoin versus Bitcoin holdings. I don't even, well, that actually makes a lot more sense than anything else. But the problem is that your shitcoins will do something like this every once in a while, which is when people come back to like, holy shit, it's going back to the moon again, bro. This is it. This is the fucking moment. I'm going to turn my disastrous 99% loss into a break even. Amazing. Holy fucking shit. Amazing. But if you're holding this thing short during this time and you have, you know, even a moderate amount of leverage, like let's say, okay, so this thing went up 135%. So that's more than a 2x. So let's say you're, I mean, even if you're using like very low leverage, like 3x, you could get liquidated on that. A 30% move will liquidate you on 3x, or about 30% move. Yeah, man. So it's like, I feel like you're just making things more complicated than what they should be. If you want to hedge, well, first off, you're not even hedging to begin with. Like, that's the real problem when you short a shitcoin versus Bitcoin, because a shitcoin is going to generally do whatever Bitcoin does, just to a greater degree to the downside, but not as much a degree to the upside. I don't know, man. I probably wouldn't do like that. I would use options on Bitcoin. If I wanted to directly hedge Bitcoin, I'd use options on Bitcoin. I really don't like looking at other assets to hedge with them. I think that that's a loser's game. I know that was like a really, really popular thing even just a few years ago, like people always talking about beta and everything. You don't hear them talking about it anymore. Why? Because they all got fucking washed out. That's why. It's just better to hedge on the asset that you're actually looking at, man. So whether that means that you use a futures position, you know, against your spot position, whether that means you use options, I think options probably a better idea. I think that's going to be a lot more appropriate and a lot more manageable, and there's a lot less variables to completely fuck you up. When you start to involve other assets and hedge on those, It sounds smart. It looks like it's going to work on paper. The math works out, but guess what? I don't see these people making a shit ton of money. I see them usually crashing out, honestly, man. So yeah. Anyways, one moment. Gallo says, I'll tell you why, because they're expecting that last failing pump. Fair enough. But I don't know, man. To me, that's just a complete gamble. Why not just get into the thing that's just been generally only going up, you know? I mean, Bitcoin here, like you get bailed out to the upside. Amazing. You know, you don't have to wait for that pump. You know, it just generally glides up there. Whereas shitcoins, it's like, you know, you're hoping and praying, and who knows how low it's going to go before you get that pump. Because yeah, at some point you will get that pump. You're 100% right. And I guess that's what may be so enticing about it, if I can read into the mind of people who go for this this sort of shit. But again, the odds are so overwhelmingly against you. It's like you look at one to 2 weeks of pump and then 99 weeks of dump, you know? It's like, what's the likelihood of it? It's very, very low. Near has a 7% API. That's APY. That's why. I don't think it makes sense to like, you're making 7% APY on a thing that goes down only. You're just losing a little bit slower. You know, I don't think that that's even gonna. I think that that's how they get a lot of people, honestly, is like with the APYs and shit like that. People look at it as like passive income, and it's like you're getting more of this token, but the token value only goes down. So do you even end up with more overall at the end of the day? Probably not. I mean, that was the game that Hex was playing, right? Hex was promising people, or I mean, it was legitimately giving people, you know, very high yields on their Hex, or however the hell that works. Basically, like you staked it, you get more of it, but the value of the thing that you're getting more of is going straight into the fucking gutter. So it's like, at the end of the day, did you actually make more? No, you lost a little bit less. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. Happy says, Crown, Sunday was a cascade down. Last night we had a cascade down. Both happened when NY was closed. I don't know if you can call that a cascade down, man. Yesterday was a cascade. I mean, this is such insignificant price action right here, in my opinion, man. I think we might be reading a little bit too much into it. Both happened when NY was closed. Maybe you get another dip down during NY hours again. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think personally you're reading a little bit too much into, you know, into price action that's ultimately very much range bound here. I don't look at this as like super interesting. But if you're in the short term and, you know, you're looking for a downside move, I guess, you know, if that relationship continues to hold up, but yeah, I don't like paying attention to that stuff too much, because it switches, it flips up as soon as you typically realize, you know, what the pattern is to begin with. So personally, I don't like looking into that too much, but hey, if it's working for you, like, more power to you, man. More power to you. Hello from Thailand, says Cohen Writer. What's up, man? Can you do Nexo weekly and monthly? I will. I'm pretty sure I did. Oh yeah. All right. We'll look at BITF. Okay. All right. BitDerp, Bitfarms, Bitcoin miner. Let's see how they're doing. Looks like a shitcoin that actually might pull through. But then again, this is like a real stock, you know, a real company. Okay. So you got the same sort of thing here that we've called out many times, which is you trade up to a prior high. Very common to pull back from that. That's not a bad signal, and that's exactly what this thing's doing right here. It was a pretty crazy move to the upside. Yes, absolutely. And I do think that there will be bounces along the way to the downside, but I do think that this one will come further to the downside and find potentially a higher low somewhere around 2.25. You know, this nice gap right here makes a lot of sense alongside some major moving averages. So I'd give that area right there a chance. And I'd actually look at this thing as potentially, this thing actually might reverse. This is what I think a lot of people hope their shitcoins will do. But this is obviously, it's not like a real shitcoin. This is a real company. You know, they have revenues and shit like that. So it is feasible that it actually might reverse here. But I'd really need to see the monthly close above 333. Until then, I generally think that this one's pulling back, and it's a higher low watch all the way down to 225? Yeah, about 220, 225. If you start to really violate much below about 220, let's say even on a daily closing basis, that's where I'd say this is going to be a one-off pump, and this is going to do what your traditional crypto shitcoin does. But until that happens, actually would be looking at the pullback as, okay, potential for higher low. Probably not where it's at right now. Probably happens a little bit lower, maybe closer to that 2.25 number. But that's like kind of the area where if you don't see it bounce there, I would get really concerned for this rally just, being basically a shitcoin rally, we'll call it. Alan S says, I think it can pump hardest because there is the most room to run up if it can get back to previous highs. That's actually a really good point. That used to be like the general analysis that you'd see in 2018 after the first major altcoin season, where people would just like draw a fucking line between, 99% down and then the prior high. And they'd be like, look, like it's going to go back to the high. This is a great fucking investment right here. I get that, it's because it's been there, we're going to go back up there. In my opinion, it's literally the opposite. It's like, it'll never go back up there ever again because almost none of these things do. Mr. Lee Sway says, because people want to trade a breakout crown. Look, you can trade breakouts on Bitcoin. You can trade breakouts on Ethereum. You can trade breakouts on things that have actually proven themselves over time. I don't think that's it, man. I think it's exactly what Alan said, because that pump becomes very, very addictive, and they really hyper focus on that first major pump. And even the subsequent ones that happen after them, they just think like, oh shit, that's going to be the next one. I think Gallo also mentioned that as well. I get it. Like those volatile moves, they can be very addicting. Absolutely. Because they do happen. It's just, they all fucking fail. So it's like looking for any of those to have real continuation is just the wrong, is the wrong sort of, is the wrong sort of mindset. And I've been saying the same shit on this since 2018, man. And I get the same comments, not the same comments from the same people, but the same sort of type of comment from different people, over the years. It's just been that way the whole way through, man. I'll change my mind when that becomes wrong, but so far it has not been wrong. Golfim Saleh says ENA. Yeah, we can look at ENA. Sure, why not? This is one of Arthur Haynes' shitcoins, Athena. I think this one also just had a nice recent pump. But yeah, you won't catch me looking at this one and thinking that this one's going to actually reverse to new highs here. This is a significant rejection in my opinion. Yes, it's probably going to bounce where it's at right now. It might even bounce significantly as well, maybe back up above 70 cents. I think it's possible. But again, as long as you're below that September high, I think that this is very, very likely going to be the next sort of major high in this thing. And it's going to be kind of, just a general drift to the downside. Again, if we were to fast forward like 6 months from here, I think it's a lot more likely to be closer to 40 cents than it is to be close to $1, for example. So something like that, man. People love garbage, says Goobtron. Yeah, fair enough. How dare you call my shitcoin a shitcoin? That's right, man. No shitcoins are shitcoins. All right, let's see what else we got. Let's see. Oh, I missed a couple over here. Mr. Aaron says, love you, man. All good. And I really appreciate all the effort you put into helping the community. I appreciate that, man. I really do appreciate that. Look, I'm just giving my opinion. I can definitely be wrong on anything that I say, and I will change my opinion, when presented with new information that tells me that I'm wrong. But at the same time, I'll always tell you my genuine opinion. My issue with a lot of the other creators that I see who, to be fair, I don't pay too much attention to. So maybe I'm speaking out of turn here. Maybe I'm not being very accurate in stating this, but from what I see generally is that it really seems like a lot of creators on Twitter, on YouTube, really they're getting paid in some way from this or something, but they promote this like up only mentality for everything, for all of the shittiest of shit coins, and like everything is a trap. Everything is just one last dump before the next major pump. And I just, how can you think that? Any sort of like technical analysis who's been paying attention for even more than like 6 months to a year, I would say, would come to these same sort of conclusions. Like, these are not the ones. These are not the ones. But I see these people continue to promote this sort of stuff. So I always want to be as honest as possible with my own opinion, because to be honest, it's just the easiest thing to do. It's, I don't have to fucking make it up. But when I see these people just continually promote these things, which look so fucking obviously in one direction, it really makes me think. Now, for some reason, a lot of these creators are like the biggest people on YouTube and Twitter as well. And I guess what's going on there, if I wanted to really make an accurate analysis of what's going on, is that these creators, they actually might believe what they're saying. That's very possible. I'm very much open to that. They might believe what they're saying, but there very likely is a big element of it that people in general, their audiences in general, there's a bigger audience to gravitate towards to you as a creator if you just tell people what they want to hear, right? If I tell people, or if you're being told, hey, you know, the shitcoin that you're holding right now is about to go 100x, man. This is the last dip before the biggest rip of all time. Okay, it sounds good. It makes you feel good. So maybe you're, you know, more likely to hang out there. I guess maybe that's what's going on, or maybe there's an air of that. You know, it's probably multiple things, to be fair, but yeah, man. I'm not concerned with that. Like, look, if there was 5 people watching, I'd be saying the same shit, because I mean that's what we've been doing on this channel since the dawn of time. Honestly, man. Like you have to understand, this channel started out with like literally 5 to 10 people watching it on a live stream. So I don't mind that. Yeah, that's just kind of where I come from, man. Anyways, Willis says, AVNT, 1 hour, please. I got in because logo looked cool. Honestly, that's probably better analysis than than most people are going to have on their shitcoins. Hey, to be fair, this is the kind of new shitcoin that you would, preferably want to focus on, because at least it goes up. And the reason why it's going up is because, well, it doesn't have the long-term history. It's very, very new. But hey, if anything is going to have, you know, those crazy pumps that actually do, you know, go on for at least a little bit, it's a super, super new stuff. It's just super difficult because you never know which ones are going to fail and which ones are not. Anyways, on the hourly right here, this one's actually okay. You know, a nice consolidation on the highs. Again, this stuff is very fucking new, so it really doesn't take too much to completely fucking destroy it, but it'll be destroyed if you do come back down below 175. Until then, I'd be looking at this as a constructive consolidation after a nice run to the upside, likely to lead towards continuation, probably back up to your range highs, which is about 220-ish region. Your next breakout will be on a closure above your Tuesday high, yesterday's high at 220 on an hourly time frame. If you see that, then this thing probably retests, I don't know, 240, 250-ish region, something like that, man. But yeah, you know, look, like if you're going to play any sort of shitcoin, I mean, it's better to play the newer ones that at least go up, you know? All right. Let's see. Get with the Hype says MU Micron. Thank you for specifying the exact name, because now I know it's not some sort of crypto shitcoin. It's an actual Micron technology. Let's see. Overall, very good over the long period of time. Yep. So we like that. Just goes up. Beautiful. Short term, I would keep an eye on the monthly closure, because it's not, you know, it's only like another 5-6 days, right? And if it can close above 158, I would look at that as a big line in the sand for any sort of a pullback to be a higher low around. Now, if it closes below there by end of month, I do think you could get a deeper pullback before this thing tries for new highs. In which case, I'd say maybe get down to like 143 to 136 region, somewhere in that pocket there. Maybe that would be another higher low. Ultimately, no matter which way I cut it, this one is bullish. It's just, is it more immediately bullish, or are we going to get a deeper pullback depending upon the monthly close? So again, if it closed below, again, what was it, 158, I'd be looking for a deeper pullback first and then continuation. If it doesn't, then, you know, or if it closes above that number, maybe it pulls back somewhere down around there, but that should be just general continuation. Overall, this thing is, I mean, it's fucking bullish, man. It's pretty fucking good. Anyways, I'll go through a few more of these and then we shall cut it off for the day. Vaskin says, GM Crown, what's up, man? Syrup on the 4 hour and daily. So here's also, or let me actually bring this one up first before I talk about it, because it might be completely wrong. Yeah, so we switched around to being, or not switched around, but we started to have a sideways and downside bias on this one. This was back on over here on this rejective high. I do think in the short term, you actually might get another bounce attempt, you know, just from being on the bottom side of this range for the, I don't know, 4th or 5th time. You also do have potential for hidden bullish divergence here as well. I don't know how much I trust it, but I do think that you might get a rally back up to like 44, maybe even 45. But ultimately, I'd be bearish on this thing as long as you're below 46 cents. Well, would I be bearish on it? Hold on. Yeah, the weekly does look like it's rolling over. Yeah, it does look like it's rolling over. But look, I would switch around my opinion to being is bullish the right term? Yeah, I guess bullish would be the right term. If it can actually trade back above 46 cents and close a daily above there, until then, I think that you will get a short-term rally and maybe even close to that number, like 44 to 45. But if you see a rejection there, that to me would be confirmation that this thing really wants to break down and, you know, see a 3 handle on price, maybe down to like 35 or 33 cents, somewhere around there, man. Low energy fin. Low energy fin. Wow, what a great name. Is imbalance candles FVG a real thing? It's not something that I study myself, man. Some people swear by price action trading and whatnot. I have a lot of reservations with it. I feel like a lot of it's honestly hindsight analysis. But hey, you know, look, if you can, here's my thing with price action trading and those sort of ideas is that you kind of, it's very difficult to back test in a meaningful way. Like, and when I say backtest, I mean you need an objective strategy with objective indications that tell you exactly what to do for opening, closing, and risk management. And with a lot of those things, it's not objective. There's always like, you need to decide, is this actually that, or is this actually an FVG, or is this, you know, a whatever. And so my issue with it is that you can't objectively test it. And if you can't objectively test it, we can't prove whether it works or whether it doesn't work. So I don't know if it doesn't work because I can't really test it. But that to me is just a major issue to begin with. So I'm just not interested in it. In that way. Anyways, we'll go to Vaskin. He's looking at Syrup. Wait, no, we just literally did that. My apologies. I am a redact as well. Yeah. 4-hour time frame. You know, maybe rallies a little bit more, 42.5 cents, and then tries for a local high. You do have hidden bearish divergence already available because the 4-hour RSI is already higher than your Saturday high, swing high right here at 43.25. So maybe I'm even being a little bit too, well, short term, you know, you could swing down and then rally back up and then come down. Or maybe just top out here and then just come straight down. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Harder on the shorter term timeframes. Arthur says AVAX weekly monthly because I like shitty history. Nice. Okay, we all like shitty history. Like shitty charts, shitty coins, and shitty walk. What was it? AVAX? Yeah. AVAX weekly. Yeah, so another one, it's like, you know, you retested your breakdown region from January of this year. Already kind of pulled back from there. So are we seeing signals of a high here? Actually, not yet, in my opinion. I think that this one very well might try higher. I believe this is the same thing. We looked at it on Monday as well. I think that this one actually could get up to like 40 or maybe even $45. I think that that's actually possible here. I wouldn't be necessarily bearish on it in the short term as long as you're above that last price action pivot here, which is 29.60. If you're above 29.60, okay, you know, I'd still be favoring the upside. But the second that you come back down below here is the second where I'd say, hey, whatever upside hopium we were holding on to is completely fucking destroyed. This thing is coming down and lots of downs. But until then, I'd actually give this one the benefit of the doubt. You know, maybe it goes for like 40, 45-ish, something like that. Let's see what the monthly looks like coming to the end of this month. Not even really enough history here to get a whole hell of a lot from this either. So that's kind of unhelpful. Yeah, not getting much from there. What's up, Bear Nutrition? Good to see you, man. Mona Chris says lots of hate from a beach in Sardinia. That sounds amazing, actually, man. That sounds really amazing. Low Energy Fin is looking at ICP. I literally just did it. We got internet computer derp right here. Down only, sir. Like literally a down only chart. It literally only goes down. It's good for the low energy. Yeah, man. Look, I don't know how long you're going to spend kind of dancing around this 430-ish number, but I think it's just a matter of time before it breaks down and you see this thing back down towards your 2023 lows and probably lower over time as well. This is just absolute dog shit, man. Absolute fucking dog shit. Like, have to put it on log scale for it to even not look so like, I mean, it still looks terrible on log scale, but at least, you know, look kind of readable there. Yeah, man. Very, very bad. Very bad. Not you as a fin, sir, but this as a chart, absolutely terrible. If you're looking at a 4-hour, is it any different? Maybe it rallies a little bit more on a 4-hour. I don't know. Hard game to play there. You know, maybe it rallies up to 444. I think in a best case scenario, it might get up to like 460. But again, there's a lot of hopium there. Long term, the direction is down, sir. Trick Shots says chain link on the daily and weekly and quarterly. Sure, we can do that really quickly. I think we might call this one a day soon here as well. Kind of a fucked up stream day, man. But I guess it looks like we don't have any issues now that I'm not multi-streaming. So I guess in the future, we'll just be no more multi-streaming. Sad day, sir. I like multi-streaming on Twitter. It's always a fun community there too. Daily, weekly, quarterly. Let's go to the quarterly first. Start high, finish low. Yeah, so this is what kind of concerns me about a lot of these ones that were kind of showing promise earlier, especially on the quarterly. I really want to see that. Like, it would be very easy for me to be bullish on this thing if it could close the quarterly above about $23. It's really not far away from $23 with 6.5 days left to go in this quarter, but it needs to close above there for me to have a really easy call to say, hey, this thing wants to live above $30 and maybe even retest prior highs. As it stands right now, yeah, I do not like what this thing is doing into the end of this month. But hey, there's a really easy, super easy way to get bearish on this thing. Super easy way to get bearish. Let's assume Link closes something like this coming into the end of the month. If in October you see it come down back below the low of September, which right now is $20 and 32.5 cents, then I would say, hey, yeah, this thing is putting in the next major local high right here. It's a lower high, it's a swing high, and it's coming back down, into the mid to low teens, something like that. But for right now, I still give it the benefit of the doubt. It's just you don't really want to see these things kind of slide into the end of the month. Like, we really, if it was really going to continue with like a high probability, we'd really be expecting a rally to the end of the month. Now, again, we still have 6.5 days left, so there is time for that. And I do think you're going to get a bounce here, maybe a bounce back up to $23, but he needs to finish the month above there, very specifically 23. That's where I become a lot more confident in this thing. All right, Gallo says super. We're going to end on Gallo. Asian Massage says Finns are greater than Swedes. Even the Finns say that the Swedish people are better than them. that's how conservative the Finnish people are. Gallo says super. Yeah, we can look at super. All right, and then we'll do Frank. Definitely Hungarian. What was it? Super. Yeah, I got this one on my list. I don't own it, but it is fun to watch. Yeah, man. I do not like what this one's doing here, man. I really don't like what this one's doing here. Look, if it was going to be saved by the 200 simple again and get a nice bounce here, I feel like that would have started to happen this week. And instead of happening this week, it's actually slumping lower than it. That's not a good sign. Monthly, this is starting to look a lot like a monthly swing high. Also really not a good sign. Quarterly, living below the 5 EMA. There's not a lot of history here to really be going off of, but again, just not good signs, man. It's acting weak. If Bitcoin shows any weakness, this thing will jump off the fucking cliff, unfortunately. I'm looking for some sort of hopium here from my man Elliot. I don't know, maybe if it gets back above your September 13th high of 63 cents, that would be, it's not even really a good sign. It's just not a terrible sign. Yeah, man, I'm having trouble even finding the hopium right here as well. I do think, like most things in the short term will be given chances for bounces. Like, I really do think. It's just, can it reclaim any of the critical regions on a bounce? For this thing, it'd need to reclaim about 56.5 cents. It's not even that hard to do. Like, it's really not even that far away for something like this. Like, I could easily do it, but goddamn, man, as long as it's hanging out below, it makes it really, really hard to love. Like, really fucking hard to love. What's up, Cav B? How you doing, man? Yeah, we looked at Bitcoin at the very beginning of the stream, but I actually had to stop and then restart the stream a couple of times. There was issues with the encoder on my streaming server. You don't give a fuck about that. But basically, I had to stop and restart the stream. So unfortunately, it's not even going to be there. So maybe I record a video later or something like that. Maybe we just wait until tomorrow. It's not a whole lot of shit going on anyways, to be honest. Frank says, Aster, again, man, what is my opinion on it? I mean, it's super, super new. It's been around for a few days. I don't think that there's any real analysis to do on something like this, man. Finding a good chart for this thing is difficult enough. Maybe we do it like this. Like this. Where's... I guess this one is what we'll go to. It's been around for a few days. Like, I don't have a real analysis on something like this, man. But what I can say is, if I'm looking at the lower term timeframes, I don't think it's topped out yet. The problem with these things is that when they do top out, it moves extremely fast and goes to the downside extremely, in a very, very swift move. But for right now, if I'm looking at this, I would actually not be bearish on. It's one of the few things that I would not just be blindly bearish on. If Bitcoin gets a bounce, which I think is very possible here, not necessarily reversal, but a bounce, this thing should do well and should make a new all-time high. And I'd be bullish on it in the short term as long as it's above, especially about, what is it, 215, even below 215. I would just call like a short-term correction with the move down to like 190. Fucking volatile as hell, man. But yeah, you know, I'd be looking for a bounce there if that area did fail. But for right now, man, I think that this thing's actually one of probably the better things that we've looked at, or it's certainly one of the best things we've looked at today. Again, we just kind of lack that long-term history for context, but yeah, you know, if anything's going to try, you know, maybe a short-term upside move would be this one. Again, my major line in the sand is basically the low of today, which is 217. Below there on an hourly closure even, I'd be looking for it to fall back down maybe like $2 to 190. I know it's a fucking tremendously huge move, but yeah, something like that, man. Anyways, I think that is going to be where we end off the stream for today. Apologies for all of the technical difficulties. I think we'll figure out the issue, or I think we figured out the issue, so we shouldn't have that going forwards from here. But yeah, man, really fucking annoying. It annoys me more than anyone else, I'm sure. But you know, of course, I understand that there's been a lot of frustration. Totally get it, and you're totally validated in that frustration. I'm also very frustrated as well. Very fucking annoying, but it looks like we should be able to fix it from here. And other than that, I'll upload a regular video analysis tomorrow. We'll go on the top-down Bitcoin analysis, I think, especially because today's video is not going to, unfortunately, include that. But yeah, it's been a pleasure as always, regardless of all of these issues. We shall come back strong tomorrow and even stronger again for a live stream on Friday. And with that said, I want to say best of the best. I wish you the best of the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully